The world remembers the loud miracles, the fire from heaven, the Red Sea parting, the mountains shaking. But some of God's greatest miracles begin in absolute silence. Before the rain returned to Israel, before hope was restored, before a widow's empty jar overflowed, God was already moving. This is the story of the miracle no one expected. A miracle born in drought, desperation, and unshaken faith. The land was silent, the ground cracked beneath the sun's relentless heat. For months, not a single drop of rain had touched the earth. Israel was deep in drought, a drought not of chance but of consequence. The prophet Elijah had spoken the word of the Lord. There shall be neither dew nor rain for years, except by my word. Now the rivers had dried up, the crops had failed, and every home echoed with the same question: where is God in all this suffering? But even in the silence, God was moving, and in a small forgotten town called Zarephath, a miracle was about to unfold, one that would prove that faith can feed you even when nothing else can. Elijah had been hiding by the brook Cherith, where God had provided for him through ravens, birds that brought him bread and meat each morning and evening. But one day the brook dried up. The same drought that starved the land had reached him too, and the word of the Lord came again. Arise, go to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow there to provide for you. A widow? It must have sounded strange. Widows were the poorest among the poor. How could someone who had nothing provide for him? But Elijah didn't question. He obeyed. Because when God sends you, he also prepares the provision ahead of you, even if it doesn't look like it. Far away in Zarephath, a weary woman gathered a few sticks under the scorching sun. Her face was thin, her steps slow. She had long stopped counting the days since she last had enough to eat. Her small jar of flour was nearly empty, her jug of oil almost dry. And that morning she had made a decision. She would prepare one last meal for herself and her son. They would eat and wait for death to come quietly. It's a pain only the desperate understand. The agony of knowing you have nothing left to give. Yet as she bent down to pick up her last stick, a stranger appeared on the road. Elijah approached her and said gently, "Please, bring me a little water in a cup." Startled, she hesitated, but turned toward her house. Even in poverty, kindness was her instinct. But before she could walk away, Elijah added, "And please bring me a piece of bread in your hand." That second request broke her. She turned, tears in her eyes, and said, "As surely as the Lord your God lives, I have no bread, only a handful of flour and a little oil in a jar. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die." Her tone was heavy with defeat. It was the voice of someone who had given up hope. But Elijah, with a steady gaze, reassured her, saying, "Don't be afraid." He went on, "Go ahead and do what you planned, but first, make me a small loaf with what you have, and then make some for yourself and your son. Because here's what the Lord, the God of Israel, says: your flour jar won't run out, and your oil jug won't dry up until the day the Lord sends rain on the land." It didn't make any sense. Why would she give her last bit of food to a stranger? How could she believe in a promise that seemed impossible? But that's what faith is all about. It's about acting before you fully grasp it, giving before you get, trusting before you see. So the widow followed through. She went home, lit her fire, poured the last of her oil, and mixed her final bit of flour into a small loaf. She set it down in front of Elijah, but when she turned back to her containers, she couldn't believe her eyes. The flour jar was still full. The oil jug kept pouring. Day after day, meal after meal, the miracle kept happening. God transformed scarcity into plenty and despair into daily nourishment. This tale isn't just about Elijah or the widow. It's about trust, the kind of trust that gives even when you feel like you have nothing left. It's about obedience, choosing to have faith instead of giving in to fear. And it's a testament to God's nature, a God who notices those who are overlooked, who provides even in tough times, and who multiplies what we offer to him. God didn't just fill her jar once. He provided for her every day, because his blessings aren't just one-time miracles. They're fresh mercies that come with every new day. There's a significant message here for all of us. Sometimes we hit rock bottom when our jar feels empty and our oil has run out. We think it's the end, but often that's where God's miracles begin. Maybe your jar represents your strength, your finances, or your faith. Maybe you're offering God the last bit of hope you've got. But if you keep trusting Him, if you're willing to pour out that last drop, you'll realize what the widow discovered, that what you have is never too little when God is involved. From the brook Cherith to the widow's kitchen, Elijah's story teaches us that God doesn't need much to accomplish great things. All He needs is faith. The widow's last meal turned into her first miracle, and through her willingness to obey, countless generations would learn that God's promises are never exhausted. If this story resonated with you, remember to like, subscribe, and share this message. Join us next time on Chronicles of the Bible as we delve into another story of faith, hope, and divine strength.